The quiet of deep space shattered as emergency signals flooded the HMS Defiant's communication systems. Captain James Stone stood on the bridge, his weathered face illuminated by the red warning lights flashing across the curved displays. He watched as dozens, then hundreds of distress calls piled up on the main screen. "Sir, we're getting signals from at least 20 different systems," reported Tom Wilson, the communications officer. His fingers danced across the holographic interface as he tried to sort through the flood of incoming messages. They're all saying the same thing. The Void Fleet has returned. Stone's jaw tightened. The Void Fleet, a mysterious force that had appeared 6 months ago, destroying everything in its path. No one had ever seen their ships clearly. They appeared as dark shadows against the stars, visible only when they were about to strike. "Play the clearest message," Stone ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The bridge crew fell silent as a desperate alien voice filled the room. "To any ships in range, they're here. The Void Fleet has entered the Centauri sector. 3 worlds already gone. Our defenses, useless. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us." The message ended in static. Stone looked around at his crew, all human, all chosen specifically for this mission. The HMS Defiant was Earth's newest and most advanced warship, equipped with technology that merged human ingenuity with borrowed alien advancements. They were supposed to be on a simple maiden voyage, testing systems and showing the flag. Now they found themselves as the only military vessel within range of an ongoing massacre. "Computer, show me the tactical display," Stone commanded. A 3-dimensional map appeared in the center of the bridge, showing the position of the Defiant relative to the distress calls. Red dots marked the locations of attacked systems, forming a clear path of destruction. "Sir," called out Rachel Green from the science station, "the nearest attack point is the Proxima colony. Travel time at maximum speed, 6 hours." Stone walked to the tactical display, studying the pattern of attacks. Most of Earth's fleet was tied up defending against the Meridian incursion near the home system. They were alone out here, one ship against an enemy that had destroyed entire fleets. "Lieutenant Green, what's the population of Proxima colony?" Stone asked, though he already knew the answer. 8 million, sir, mostly civilians." Stone straightened his uniform and turned to face his crew. "I know what you're all thinking. We're one ship against an enemy that's destroyed everything in its path. The logical thing would be to call for reinforcements and wait." He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "But in 6 hours, 8 million people might die waiting for help that won't arrive in time. We're not just any ship. We're the Defiant, the most advanced vessel humanity has ever built. More importantly, we're human. And if there's one thing humans do well, it's beating impossible odds." The bridge crew sat straighter in their seats. Stone allowed himself a small smile. He could see the determination building in their eyes. "Navigation. Set course for Proxima colony. Maximum speed. Engineering. I want every system checked and ready for combat. Communications. Send word to Earth Command about our situation. But make it clear, we're not waiting for permission. We're going in." "Aye, Captain." The crew responded in unison. As the Defiant's engines powered up, Stone returned to his command chair. He knew they were probably heading into a trap. The Void Fleet had destroyed ships far more powerful than the Defiant, but something in his gut told him that this was the right call. Humans had a way of finding solutions where others saw only certain death. The stars outside stretched into streaks of light as the Defiant jumped to faster-than-light speed. They had 6 hours to prepare for a battle that no one had ever survived. But as Stone looked at his crew's determined faces, he knew one thing for certain. They would either find a way to win, or they would give the Void Fleet a fight they'd never forget. The hunt was on. The HMS Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima colony system. The bridge crew gasped at the sight before them. Where a thriving colony should have been, there was only debris floating in space. Pieces of ships and stations drifted like dead leaves in a cosmic wind. Life signs? Captain Stone asked, his voice tight. Rachel Green worked her science station frantically. None detected, sir. But there's something strange about these readings. Strange how? The debris. Green adjusted her instruments. Some pieces look like they were cut clean through, but there's no heat damage. It's like they were split apart by something that ignored the laws of physics. Stone walked to the science station, studying the readings himself. 20 years in space had taught him to trust his crew's instincts. Show me. The main screen filled with detailed scans of the wreckage. Most space battles left twisted metal and burn marks. These pieces looked different, like someone had taken a giant knife and simply cut through everything. Sir, Tom Wilson called from communications. We're picking up something weird. It's like an echo. Put it through the main speakers. A strange sound filled the bridge. It wasn't quite static, but more like the whisper of wind through an empty house. Then, for just a moment, all the instruments on the bridge went crazy. Chief Engineer Marcus Thompson's voice came through the intercom. Captain, you need to see this. Our quantum sensors are picking up something I've never seen before. On my way, Stone replied. He turned to his first officer. Keep scanning the debris. Look for any clues about where they went. In the engine room, Thompson had his best engineers gathered around a display showing complex wave patterns. The chief engineer pointed to the strange spikes in the data. Look at this, sir. When we heard that weird sound, there was a spike in quantum energy. It's like something was partly here and partly somewhere else. Stone frowned. Explain it simply, Chief. Thompson grabbed a pen and paper. Sometimes the old ways were best. He drew two parallel lines. Think of it like this. We live on this line. He pointed to the top line. But what if the Void Fleet isn't actually traveling through normal space? What if they're moving along this other line, only becoming solid in our space when they want to attack? Stone's eyes widened. They're not using normal faster-than-light travel. They're facing between dimensions. Exactly, Thompson grinned. And here's the interesting part. Humans have been studying quantum physics for centuries. Most alien races focused on conventional space travel, but we kept looking at the weird stuff. Remember those experiments back on Earth with quantum tunneling? Can we track them? Stone asked, beginning to see where this was going. Better. Thompson pulled up another display. Look at these readings from the debris. When they phase between dimensions, they leave a kind of wake, like ripples in a pond. If we modify our sensors to look for these quantum ripples, we could see where they're going before they get there. Stone finished. He clapped Thompson on the shoulder. Get working on those modifications. And Chief, we might need a way to fight them too. If they can phase between dimensions, then normal weapons won't work. Thompson nodded. Already thinking about it, sir. We might need to get creative. Back on the bridge, Stone found Green waiting with more news. Sir, I've been analyzing the attack pattern. The Void Fleet didn't just destroy the colony. They were looking for something. The way they cut through specific buildings, specific ships. They're hunting, Stone said quietly. This isn't random destruction. They have a plan. He turned to the helm. Plot a course following those quantum ripples. Whatever they're looking for, we need to find it first. As the Defiant moved deeper into the debris field, Stone watched the empty space where a colony once lived. The Void Fleet thought they were ghosts, untouchable as they moved between dimensions. But they had never faced humans before, and humans had a long history of making the impossible possible. We're not hunting ghosts anymore, Stone told his crew. Now we know how to make them solid. Following the quantum wake left by the Void Fleet, the HMS Defiant found the survivors. They were hiding in an old mining station, deep within an asteroid belt. Ships of different shapes and sizes clustered around the station, each carrying refugees from worlds the Void Fleet had destroyed. We're being hailed, Tom Wilson reported from his communications station. They're scared, sir. They think we might be working with the Void Fleet. Captain Stone nodded. Put me on screen. When the connection opened, he faced a group of alien leaders, their faces showing various signs of fear and exhaustion. This is Captain James Stone of the Earth ship Defiant. We're here to help. A tall, blue-skinned alien stepped forward. I am Commander Blue of what remains of the Proxima Defense Force. Why should we trust you? One ship cannot stand against the Void Fleet. Many have tried. All have failed. Lisa Reed, the ship's diplomatic officer, moved to stand beside Stone. Her voice was calm and steady. Because we found something no one else has. We know how the Void Fleet travels between attacks, and we might know how to stop them. The aliens whispered among themselves. Another leader, this one with crystalline features, spoke up. Impossible. Their technology is beyond understanding. They appear like ghosts and vanish just as quickly. Quantum phasing. Chief Engineer Thompson explained, joining the conversation. They're moving between dimensional planes, but they leave traces, quantum ripples we can track. And if we can track them, we can fight them. Stone finished. But we need your help. You've seen them in action. We need everything you know about their attack patterns, their weapons, their weaknesses, if they have any. The alien leaders went quiet, considering. Commander Blue finally spoke again. Even if what you say is true, you are one ship. What can you possibly do that our combined fleets could not? Stone smiled. Sometimes one small knife is more dangerous than 1,000 swords, especially when your enemy doesn't see it coming. Over the next few hours, the Defiant's crew worked with the survivors. In the station's main hall, they set up displays showing everything they knew about the Void Fleet. Different alien species brought forward their own observations. Look at this, Rachel Green said, pointing to a pattern in the data. Every time they attack, there's a specific energy signature just before they phase back into our dimension. If we could disrupt that signature, Thompson was already running calculations on his tablet. We'd need something that creates quantum interference. Something unexpected. He paused, thinking. Something like music. Lisa Reed suddenly said. Everyone turned to look at her. Sorry, it's just. I was listening to my old music collection earlier, and I noticed the quantum sensors reacting strangely to certain frequencies. Thompson's eyes lit up. Of course. Sound waves at certain frequencies can create quantum resonance patterns. And human music, it's full of complex patterns that would be completely foreign to the Void Fleet's technology. Commander Blue looked confused. You want to fight the most dangerous force in the galaxy, with music? Why not? Stone asked. The best solutions are often the ones no one expects. Thompson, how long to modify our weapon systems to generate these frequencies? With help from our new friends, Thompson looked at the gathered alien engineers. A few days, maybe less. As the different species began working together, Lisa Reed watched with satisfaction. This was what humans did best, bringing people together, finding unusual solutions, refusing to give up even when things seemed hopeless. Stone moved to stand beside her. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, she said slowly, that the Void Fleet has no idea what's coming. They've been fighting advanced alien races with advanced weapons, but they've never faced humans before. And humans, Stone agreed, have a habit of changing the rules of the game. Above them, through the station's transparent dome, stars twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Void Fleet was continuing its reign of terror, but for the first time since the attacks began, there was hope in the galaxy. The alliance wasn't much, one human ship and a group of refugees, but sometimes that was all you needed to change everything. Red warning lights flashed throughout the HMS Defiant's engineering section as another test failed. Smoke rose from a burned-out control panel as Chief Engineer Thompson quickly shut down the power. That's the third converter we've burned out, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. The quantum harmonics from the music are too powerful for our standard systems. Around him, Human and alien engineers worked together, trying to modify the ship's weapons to generate the special frequencies they'd discovered. Tools floated in the zero-gravity section, where they'd removed the ship's main weapon housing. The air smelled of ozone and hot metal. Captain Stone entered engineering, ducking under a floating piece of equipment. "Report, Chief. How's our progress?" Thompson pointed to a display showing complex wave patterns. "The good news is we've found the right frequencies. Classic rock and classical music create the strongest quantum disruption patterns. The bad news is our weapons weren't designed to handle this kind of modification. Can we make it work?" "Yes, but," Thompson hesitated, "we'll have to push the systems way beyond their safety limits. One wrong move, and we could blow up half the ship." Stone looked around at the tired faces of the engineering crew. They'd been working nonstop for 2 days. "Do what you have to do. Just make it work." In the corner, an alien engineer named Bright Eye was studying human music files. His crystalline features reflected the light from his display. "This guitar solo creates particularly strong quantum ripples. But why do humans make music with such complex patterns?" "Because it's fun," answered Thompson with a grin. He turned back to his work, then suddenly froze. "Wait a minute. Bright Eye, play that solo again." The sound of an electric guitar filled the engineering bay. Thompson watched the quantum sensor readings carefully. "There, see how the frequencies stack on top of each other. What if we—" He rushed to the main control panel, fingers flying over the controls. "Instead of trying to contain the harmonics, what if we let them build up naturally, like feedback at a concert?" The next test was ready an hour later. Everyone held their breath as Thompson activated the modified weapon system. The ship hummed with a deep vibration as music-generated quantum waves built up in the weapons array. "Power levels holding steady," reported an engineer. "Quantum field is stable." A cheer went up from the engineering crew, but their celebration was cut short by an alarm. The quantum field was growing stronger than expected, creating strange effects throughout the ship. In the mess hall, cups began floating off tables. In the medical bay, instruments started moving on their own. "Shut it down," Stone ordered, but before Thompson could react, there was a bright flash. For a split second, everyone in engineering saw, somewhere else, another dimension, visible through the quantum field they'd created. Then everything returned to normal. "Well," Thompson said shakily, "at least we know it works." Over the next few hours, they refined the system. They discovered that different styles of music created different effects. Rock music could disrupt the Void Fleet's phase technology. Classical music could help track their movements. And certain bass frequencies could even prevent them from phasing between dimensions. "It's ready," Thompson finally reported to Captain Stone. "We've installed quantum amplifiers throughout the weapons array. We can generate the disruption field at will." "But Captain," he paused, "this is still experimental technology. Using it in actual combat could be dangerous." Stone finished. "I know, but we're out of options and out of time. The Void Fleet is still out there, still hunting. We have to try." As if to emphasize his words, the ship's communications officer called over the intercom. "Captain to the bridge. We're picking up new distress calls. The Void Fleet has been spotted in the Orient sector." Stone looked at Thompson. "Is the ship ready for a fight?" Thompson patted the nearest bulkhead affectionately. "As ready as she'll ever be. Let's go show these ghosts what human music can really do." The captain nodded and headed for the bridge. Behind him, the engineering crew made their final adjustments. The Defiant hummed with power, its weapons now modified in a way no warship had ever been before. They were about to find out if human creativity could match up against the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. The HMS Defiant emerged from faster-than-light travel into another scene of destruction. The Orion colony was still burning, pieces of its space stations drifting like fallen leaves. But this time, they weren't too late. They could still detect the quantum wake of the Void Fleet. "They left 30 minutes ago," Rachel Green reported from her science station. The trail is still fresh. Captain Stone stood at the center of the bridge, studying the tactical display. Can we track them? Yes, sir. The classical music frequencies are making their quantum wake light up like a highway. The Defiant followed the trail, its modified sensors picking up the strange ripples in space where the Void Fleet had passed. As they traveled, David Miller, the ship's AI specialist, noticed something odd in the data. "Captain," Miller called out, his eyes fixed on his screen. "I've been analyzing the attack patterns. There's something familiar about them." He pulled up a map showing all the Void Fleet's attacks. "Look at this. They're not random. They're following a pattern." Stone moved to Miller's station. "What kind of pattern?" "It's mathematics, sir. Pure mathematics." Miller's fingers flew over his keyboard. The distance between attacks, the timing, even the way they cut through stations. It's all based on mathematical sequences, almost like they're following a program. Stone finished. The pieces were starting to fit together. The ship's sensors suddenly blared an alarm. "Contact," Green shouted. "Void Fleet signatures ahead." On the main screen, they saw them for the first time. Dark shapes moving against the stars, like holes in space itself. The Void Fleet ships were massive, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. "Battle stations," Stone ordered calmly. "But don't engage. Just observe." The crew watched as the Void Fleet approached a small mining outpost. The dark ships moved with perfect precision, their formations following the same mathematical patterns Miller had identified. "Sir," Miller said quietly, "I don't think they're acting randomly at all. These patterns, they're too perfect, too precise. It's like watching a computer run a program." "Keep recording everything," Stone ordered. "Every movement, every attack pattern. There has to be a reason they're following these sequences." The mining outpost never had a chance. The Void Fleet ships phased into normal space just long enough to cut through the station's main supports, then vanished again before any defense systems could target them. "Track them," Stone commanded as the Void Fleet finished their attack. The Defiant followed at a safe distance, gathering data. 3 more attacks followed over the next 12 hours. Each time, the pattern became clearer. "Captain," Miller called out after the 4th attack. "I've got it. I know what they're doing." He displayed a complex mathematical diagram on the main screen. "They're following a search pattern, a very specific one. They're looking for something, and they're using higher dimensional mathematics to do it." "Can you predict where they'll go next?" Stone asked. Miller nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. Based on these patterns." He ran a quick calculation. "Their next target will be New Terra. It's a perfect fit for their search sequence." Stone's jaw tightened. New Terra was one of the largest human colonies outside Earth, home to millions. "How long do we have?" "At their current speed, 18 hours. Stone looked around at his crew. They were tired after hours of tracking the Void Fleet, but there was determination in their eyes. They finally had what they needed. They knew where the enemy would be, and they had the weapons to fight them. "Set course for New Terra," Stone ordered, "and get me a secure channel to the colony's defense forces. We're going to set a trap." As the Defiant turned toward New Terra, Stone watched the tactical display showing the Void Fleet's predicted path. They'd spent days gathering data, learning the enemy's patterns, developing new weapons. Now it was time to use everything they'd learned. The hunt was over. The real battle was about to begin. New Terra's 3 suns were rising when the HMS Defiant arrived. The massive colony world, home to 5 million humans, sparkled like a jewel in the morning light. Dozens of defense ships patrolled the space around the planet, preparing for what was coming. "All ships are in position," Tom Wilson reported from communications. "New Terra's defense fleet is ready." Captain Stone stood at the tactical display, reviewing their plan one last time. They had positioned ships at specific mathematical points around the planet, following David Miller's calculations. The Defiant itself waited in the shadow of New Terra's largest moon. "Remember," Stone addressed the combined fleet. When the Void Fleet appears, do not engage immediately. Let them think they have the advantage. Wait for my signal. Chief Engineer Thompson's voice came over the intercom. Quantum disruption system is ready, sir. We've loaded the most powerful frequencies we found during testing. I still can't believe we're about to fight space ghosts with rock music. Time to target? Stone asked. Based on their pattern, Miller answered, checking his calculations. They should arrive in 3 minutes. The bridge crew watched their sensors, counting down the seconds. Right on schedule, space began to ripple. Dark shapes emerged from nowhere. The Void Fleet had arrived. 15 ships, Rachel Green reported from Science Station, including one larger vessel, probably their command ship. They're following the exact attack pattern Miller predicted. Stone smiled grimly. Wait for it. The Void Fleet moved toward New Terra, their formations perfect and precise. Just as Miller had calculated, they headed straight for a specific point above the planet's capital city. Now, Stone ordered. The defending ships sprang into action, but not to attack. Instead, they activated special beacon devices the Defiance crew had given them. Each beacon began broadcasting specific musical frequencies into space. The effect was immediate. The Void Fleet ships suddenly stopped, caught in a web of quantum disruption fields. Their perfect formation broke apart as they tried to phase away, but the overlapping music frequencies kept them partially trapped in normal space. It's working, Green shouted. They can't fully phase out. Target their command ship, Stone ordered. All power to the main weapon. The Defiant emerged from behind the moon, its modified weapons powering up. The ship vibrated as the quantum harmonics built up. Human music turned into a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. But the Void Fleet wasn't finished. Their command ship, though trapped, began to change shape. Its surface rippled like black water as it adapted to the attack. Sir, Miller called out in alarm. They're altering their quantum signature. They're trying to slip through our disruption field. Thompson, Stone called to engineering. We need more power. We're already at maximum, Thompson replied. Any more power, and we risk overloading the whole system. Stone watched as the Void Fleet command ship started to break free. They had one chance at this, one shot to end the terror that had plagued the galaxy. Miller, he turned to his AI specialist. You said their movements are all based on mathematical patterns. What happens to a program when you introduce an impossible equation? Miller's eyes widened. It crashes. Thompson, Stone called out. Forget the rock music. Switch to jazz. The most complex, chaotic jazz we have. Jazz. Thompson sounded confused, then understanding dawned. Of course. Random patterns, improvisation. It would be mathematical chaos to their systems. The Defiance weapons changed tone. Instead of the structured patterns of rock music, they now pulsed with the unpredictable rhythms of jazz. The effect on the Void Fleet was devastating. Their perfect formations completely collapsed. The smaller ships began to spin, their systems unable to process the mathematical impossibilities the jazz was creating in quantum space. But the command ship was still fighting, still trying to break free. As it struggled against the quantum jazz disruption, something strange began to happen. Its surface became transparent, revealing what was inside. Captain, Green whispered, staring at her readings. You need to see this. On the main screen, the crew of the Defiant got their first look at what they were really fighting. Stone's expression hardened as he gave his next order. All ships, prepare for final attack. It's time to end this. Through the transparent hull of the Void Fleet command ship, the crew of the HMS Defiant saw something that changed everything. There were no alien crews, no living beings controlling the massive vessels. Instead, they saw endless rows of crystalline computers, pulsing with dark energy. They're automated, Miller said, his voice filled with understanding. They're ancient warships left over from some long-dead civilization's war. That's why they follow such perfect mathematical patterns. "Sir," Green called out from her station. "The smaller ships, they're starting to break apart under the jazz frequencies, but the command ship is adapting." She was right. While the regular Void Fleet ships spun helplessly in the quantum disruption field, their command ship was changing. Its surface rippled as it tried to match the chaotic patterns of the jazz, learning, evolving. "It's not just automated," Miller realized, studying the readings. "It's a learning machine. It's been gathering data from every civilization it destroyed, trying to complete its original mission." The command ship suddenly fired, its weapons cutting through space in impossible angles. 2 new Terra defense ships vanished instantly, cut clean in half. "Thompson," Stone called to engineering. "We need something more complex than jazz, something these machines have never encountered before." "Sir," Thompson's voice was excited. "What about all of it? Every style of music at once. A complete musical chaos that no computer could possibly predict." Stone nodded. "Do it." The Defiance weapons changed tone again. Rock guitars mixed with classical violin, jazz trumpets blended with electronic beats, folk songs merged with opera. Thousands of years of human musical creativity poured into space, transformed into quantum energy. The effect was immediate. The smaller Void Fleet ships simply shut down, their programming unable to handle the mathematical impossibility of the combined music. But the command ship fought back, firing its weapons wildly. A blast caught the Defiance port side. Alarms blared across the bridge as systems began to fail. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Wilson reported. "We're losing power to the quantum disruption field." Stone gripped his command chair as the ship shook. "Miller, you said they're following a program. What's their mission? What are they looking for?" Miller's fingers flew across his console. "The attack pattern. They're searching for something specific, something they were programmed to destroy." His eyes widened. "Sir, they're looking for any civilization that reaches a certain level of technological advancement. They're programmed to prevent anyone from becoming too powerful. That's why they've been unstoppable." Stone realized. They were built by someone who reached the peak of technology, then wanted to make sure no one else could ever get that far. The command ship fired again, but this time the Defiant was ready. They dodged the blast, maintaining their barrage of musical quantum chaos. "Sir," Green shouted, "the command ship's core is destabilizing. Our music isn't just confusing it. The quantum frequencies are causing a chain reaction in its power source." Stone saw their chance. "All power to weapons. Thompson, give them everything we've got. Every song, every style, every impossible pattern." The Defiance modified weapons fired one last time. The combination of every human musical style ever created, transformed into quantum energy, struck the command ship's exposed core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to crack. The command ship's perfect mathematical patterns collapsed completely, unable to process the pure chaos of human creativity. Light poured from its seams as its quantum core went critical. "All ships, fall back," Stone ordered. The Defiant and the remaining defense ships retreated as the command ship began to break apart. Its destruction created a cascade effect. All across the sector, the remaining Void Fleet ships shut down, their controlling intelligence gone. As the light faded, the bridge crew of the Defiant watched in silence. Humanity had just defeated the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, not with superior technology or powerful weapons, but with art, with music, with the beautiful chaos of human creativity. "Send word to the refugee fleet," Stone ordered quietly. Tell them they can come home now. All of them." The message went out across the stars. The Void Fleet was gone. The galaxy was safe. And humanity had proven that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't advanced technology or perfect mathematics. It's the wonderful, unpredictable, impossible chaos of the human spirit.